The UAE never wanted this war. They had food stocks ready for 4 to 6 months. They had air defense systems in place. They had contingency plans prepared. They had been quietly getting ready for a regional emergency for years without telling anyone. But they never expected Iran to actually do it. They never believed Iran would attack every single one of its Gulf neighbors simultaneously. The countries that had been trading partners. The countries that had been diplomatic allies. The countries that had done nothing wrong. And yet here they are. 29 days into a war they did not start. A war they did not want. A war they are fighting alone while the world argues about who is to blame. This is the story of the UAE that nobody is telling. Not from Iran's side. Not from America's side. From the UAE itself. The people who woke up one morning and found missiles falling on their city. And decided they were going to stand their ground. The UAE before the war. To understand the UAE's position, you need to understand what the UAE was before February 28, 2026. The UAE was not a military power. It was a trade hub. A diplomatic bridge. A neutral space where East and West could meet and do business without the politics getting in the way. The UAE had spent years building relationships with everyone. With the United States. With Europe. With China. With India. With Iran itself. The UAE and Iran had significant trade ties. Hundreds of thousands of Iranian nationals lived and worked in the UAE. Dubai's Iranian community was one of the largest outside Iran itself. The UAE had even been quietly pushing back against the idea of using its territory for military action. When tensions between the US and Iran were rising in the months before the conflict, the UAE sent a clear private message to Washington. Do not use UAE soil as a launchpad for any attack on Iran. The UAE does not want to be part of this. Washington largely ignored that message. And on February 28, 2026, when the US and Israel launched their coordinated strikes on Iran, the missiles and aircraft that started this war did use bases in the region that Iran considered UAE adjacent. Iran drew its own conclusions. And the UAE paid the price. CE. The first NI. GHT. February 28, 2026. The night everything changed for the UAE. Within hours of the US and Israeli strikes on Iran, the first Iranian missiles began arriving. The UAE air defense systems, which had been quietly upgraded over years of preparation, began intercepting incoming threats. THAAD systems acquired from the United States. Patriot missile batteries. All of them activating simultaneously as the first wave of Iranian ballistic missiles came in from the north. Most were intercepted. But the debris from those interceptions still fell on populated areas. Residential streets in Abu Dhabi. Roads. Parking lots. A Pakistani national was killed by falling debris in the first hours of the conflict. 2 other people were injured. By dawn on March 1, the UAE government was already in full emergency response mode. The National Crisis and Emergency Management Authority activated its highest alert level. Food and water reserves were checked. Hospitals were placed on standby. Air defense units were reinforced and resupplied. And the UAE ambassador to the United States, Youssef Al-Otaiba, was on the phone to Washington before sunrise, making clear that the UAE expected the United States to do everything in its power to protect the country that was now paying the price for America's decision to strike Iran. UAE's official response. The UAE government response to the Iranian attacks was immediate and measured at the same time. On March 1, the UAE closed its embassy in Tehran and withdrew its ambassador and all diplomatic staff. This was a significant diplomatic step. It signaled that the UAE considered the attacks a fundamental rupture in relations, not a temporary incident to be managed. The UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement condemning the attacks in the strongest possible terms, calling them a flagrant violation of national sovereignty and a clear breach of international law and the Charter of the United Nations. The UAE summoned the Iranian ambassador to the UAE and delivered a formal note of protest. The Minister of State Khalifa Shaheen Al-Marah told the Iranian ambassador directly that the UAE had made its position clear. The UAE would not permit its territory to be used in any military action against Iran. Iran had attacked anyway, and there would be serious repercussions. But here is what is important. Despite all of this, the UAE did not call for military retaliation against Iran. The Minister of State for International Cooperation Reem al-Hashimi said in a public statement that the UAE does not seek to expand the circle of confrontation and does not believe that military solutions create permanent stability. The UAE wanted the attacks to stop. The UAE wanted Iran to be held accountable through international law. But the UAE did not want to start a war of its own. Defending the country while the diplomats were talking, the military was working 24 hours a day. As of March 28, 2026, the UAE has intercepted and destroyed 398 ballistic missiles, 1872 drone attacks and 15 cruise missiles fired from Iran. These numbers are extraordinary. The UAE air defense systems have been operating continuously for 29 days, intercepting wave after wave of incoming threats. The UAE military held daily press briefings showing pieces of intercepted missiles and drones laid out on tables for journalists to examine. They were transparent about what was being fired at them. They wanted the world to see exactly what Iran was doing. A UAE official speaking to Euronews described the situation. They had been preparing for emergency situations for years. Food stocks, facilities, air defense readiness. They had been preparing, not expecting war but expecting the possibility of crisis. And when the crisis came, they were ready. But even the best air defense systems cannot stop everything. Debris from intercepted missiles still falls. And it falls on people, on roads, on buildings, on residential areas. 11 people have been killed so far. Not by direct hits. By the debris of missiles that were successfully shot down. People who were safe in a technical military sense but died anyway because of where the wreckage landed. Dead. The economy under fire. The UAE did not just have to defend itself militarily. It had to defend its economy at the same time. The UAE economy is built on trade, tourism and finance. All three of those things depend on stability and confidence. And when missiles are falling on Dubai airport and fires are breaking out at Jebel Ali port, confidence evaporates fast. Oil production in the UAE dropped by between 500,000 and 800,000 barrels per day as a result of the conflict. The Emirates' global aluminium facility was damaged. Hotels saw mass cancellations. Airlines cancelled or reduced flights. Expats began leaving. The UAE government moved quickly to stabilize the situation. Hotels were encouraged to slash prices and offer discounts to prevent the tourism industry from collapsing entirely. The Minister of Economy and Tourism announced that the UAE had sufficient reserves of basic goods to cover its needs for between 4 and 6 months. He called on people to avoid panic buying that could cause artificial price increases. The message was clear. The UAE was under attack, but it was not going to collapse. The fundamentals of the economy remained strong. When this war ended, the UAE would still be an attractive place to live and do business. The tax regime, the business environment, the social stability, all of that was still there underneath the emergency. Whether people believed that message or not was a different question. The information war here is where the UAE's response becomes more complicated. Alongside the military defense and the economic management, the UAE government was fighting a third battle. An information war. The UAE cybercrime laws, which were already strict before the conflict, became the primary tool for controlling what people said and shared about the attacks. 21 people were arrested in Dubai for filming, sharing or posting content related to the attacks. 45 more were arrested in Abu Dhabi under the same laws. A 60-year-old British tourist deleted a video he had filmed before anyone saw it and was still arrested and charged. The UAE government justified these arrests by saying that false information and rumors could cause public panic and undermine the war effort. Sharing footage of missile strikes, they argued, could help Iran assess the accuracy of its attacks and adjust its targeting. There is a real argument to be made for some level of information control in a genuine war situation. Most countries do restrict what can be filmed and shared near military installations during conflicts. But arresting a tourist for a video that no one ever saw and then deleting is a different matter. And requiring social media influencers to post pro-government content rather than simply asking them not to post harmful content crosses another line. The UAE's information controls during this crisis have damaged its reputation in a way that the missiles themselves have not. People who might have been sympathetic to a country under attack have found it harder to maintain that sympathy when they read about tourists being jailed for filming the sky. The diplomatic effort while the military fought and the economy struggled, the UAE's diplomats were working harder than at any point in the country's history. The UAE took the conflict to the United Nations Human Rights Council. And on March 26, 2026, the Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning Iran's attacks on Gulf countries. The resolution affirmed that the attacks constitute a violation of international law and a serious threat to international peace and security. It demanded that Iran immediately and unconditionally cease any provocations or threats against neighboring countries. The UAE, along with Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar and Jordan, issued a joint statement on March 26 condemning Iran and calling on Iraq to stop armed factions loyal to Iran from launching attacks from Iraqi territory. The UAE also sent its Foreign Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan on a diplomatic tour of European capitals. Meetings in Nicosia with the President of Cyprus. Meetings in Berlin with the German Foreign Minister. The message was the same in every capital. The UAE is a country under attack. We need the international community to hold Iran accountable through law, not just through military force. The UAE made a specific point of separating its position on the Iranian government from its position on the Iranian people. A senior UAE official told Euronews that the UAE has a very clear definition between the Iranian regime and individual Iranians. The trade and cultural ties between the UAE and ordinary Iranians were real and valuable. The UAE did not want those destroyed by a war started by the Iranian government. What the UAE wants now. So what does the UAE actually want from this situation? The answer is surprisingly simple. The UAE wants the attacks to stop. It does not want to retaliate militarily against Iran. It does not want the conflict to spread further. It does not want to see more of its neighbors drawn into the fighting. It wants the international community to force Iran back to the negotiating table through sanctions, diplomatic pressure and legal accountability. The UAE's position is that it did not start this war. It was not a combatant before the attacks began. It gave Iran clear private signals that it did not want to be involved in any military action. Iran attacked it anyway. And now the UAE finds itself in the middle of a conflict between the United States and Iran that it wanted no part of. A UAE official told Euronews that the country wants Iran to realize that attacking its whole neighborhood is not helping Iran and to stop. And that once that happens, there will be room for active mediation and a path back to some form of relationship. But the same official was honest about the long-term damage. Even when this war ends, the trust between the Gulf states and Iran has been broken in a way that will take decades to repair. The relationships that existed before February 28, 2026 are gone. Whatever comes after this conflict will be built on completely different foundations. The future of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. The question everyone in the UAE is asking is what comes after this. A senior UAE official told Euronews that the fundamentals of the UAE economy remain strong and will reassert themselves once the conflict ends. The tax regime. The business environment. The social stability. The geographic position as a hub between East and West. All of that is still there. But the same official acknowledged that the conflict has created a trust gap between the Gulf states and Iran that will last for decades. And there is another trust gap that will take time to repair. The relationship between the UAE and the millions of expats who lived there and left. Some of them left because they had to. Flights were restricted and they got out when they could. Others left by choice, deciding that no salary or lifestyle was worth staying in a city under missile attack. Whether those people come back when the war ends is not guaranteed. The UAE built its economy on being a safe, attractive place for international talent and business. That reputation has taken real damage over the last 29 days. The UAE government is betting that once the war ends, the fundamentals will reassert themselves. That people will remember why they came to Dubai and Abu Dhabi in the first place. The opportunity. The lifestyle. The connectivity. The weather. The safety that existed before February 28. Whether that bet pays off will determine what the UAE looks like 5 years from now. The UAE never wanted this war. They prepared for the possibility of crisis. They built their defenses. They stocked their food reserves. They tried through private diplomatic channels to make clear they did not want to be involved. And then the war came to them anyway. They have intercepted nearly 2,300 Iranian missiles, drones and cruise missiles in 29 days. They have kept their economy running. They have taken their case to the United Nations and won a Human Rights Council resolution in their favor. They have refused to retaliate militarily even as their civilians died from falling debris. And they are still there. Still standing. Still defending. Still hoping that the international community will do enough to end this before more people die. 11 people are dead. 178 are injured. And the war is not over. If this video helped you understand the UAE side of this conflict, share it right now with anyone who wants to understand what is actually happening in the Gulf. Not just from Iran's side. Not just from America's side. But from the people whose city is being bombed. Drop a comment below and tell me. Do you think the UAE deserves more support from Britain and the West than it is getting? Should more countries be doing more to defend the UAE? I read every single comment. And if you want more videos covering every side of the war in the Gulf, subscribe to Britain Red Dot right now. Thank you for watching.